Hello friends and family, it's late and I'm getting ready to call it a day, but I wanted to do an update on some Montessori observations. Right now I'm at Loyola College in Baltimore, Maryland, and I am finishing up my last few classes to complete my master's degree. That's about to kick off tomorrow into high speed, so I wanted to tell you a few things before I'm totally overwhelmed. What really prompted me wanting to give you an update was today during our orientation we had the different professors speak, and one woman, she is going to be helping us work on prepare to write our research papers. So she does not have a Montessori background, but she was explaining today that after teaching this class to Montessori teachers for 3 or 4 years, that she was so impressed by the information that they were finding in their research, and just by how warm and loving and sincere they were, that she enrolled her son into a Montessori school. She actually teared up when she was talking about it, and she said, and I quote, it was a life-transforming experience having their child in a Montessori school. It made me start thinking, and as I've taken this course and read the books and just been on my own spiritual journey of sorts over the last year or so, I've noticed a lot of similarities between Montessori and a spiritual journey. And what I thought today when she was talking about this is not liking Montessori is like not liking Jesus. The problem is that he's been misrepresented, I think, a lot of the time. People don't really know what he said. They just look at people who talk about him and they think they know what he's about, but it's not true. And the same thing happens with Montessori schools. Montessori was a woman's last name, Dr. Maria Montessori. She lived in Italy about 100 years ago. The problem is that she did not do anything to protect the rights to calling it a certain thing. So anybody today can slap the name Montessori on a school. I could have not taken any of the courses, not have read any of the books that Montessori wrote, never have gone to a Montessori school as a small child, or never have walked into one. I could buy no materials that look like Montessori, and I could open up a daycare and call it Angie's Montessori School. So that's a problem. There's different organizations that do certify, so there's ways to know if you are at a school that is truly practicing Montessori's philosophies. But a lot of people don't know this. I didn't know this before I started looking into becoming a Montessori teacher. But there's lots of different organizations. Let me know if you want to know more about that. I'd be happy to answer your questions. So I would like to address some common questions and misconceptions about Montessori for you today. So one question is that a lot of the activities that the kids do are things like washing a table, cutting a banana, walking on a line. They're required to put away the things they use, their materials, when they're done. So I get a lot of people say, what about their childhood? When do kids just get to play? Which is a valid question. Basically, I'm going to give you a crash course in a major Montessori idea, and that is the topic of deviations and normalization. I know, big words, and they sound like deviations like we've got little devils. It's not that bad. Basically, deviation is the word that Montessori used to describe any sort of abnormality or like a misbehavior. Somewhere along the way, for whatever reason, they become aggressive or withdrawn. They can't focus. They never stop talking. They won't talk at all. Whatever it is, all these things, Montessori just called them all deviations. She noticed that if a child, no matter what its deviation is, if they get focused on something intensely and concentrated, after a period of concentration, they all become sort of the same child, a more peaceful child, a curious child who's interested in learning, who's a little more self-controlled, walks a little taller. In order to become engrossed in something, it has to be something of interest. And what is found is that the kids actually prefer these kinds of activities. The washing and the cutting and caring for plants and things like this. Children, like all people, want to have significance. We all have this inner drive to impact the world around us through our work, through our hands. And toys are actually frustrating. At first they're exciting, but they end up being frustrating. And think back to when you were a kid, see if you remember feeling like that. No one wants to fake cut a fake apple or pretend to cook a fake hamburger or, act like you're watering a fake plant or something. I mean, it's fun for about 5 seconds and then, it's just boring. It's like nothing you do matters. So her first classrooms actually had other items than what you'd see in a Montessori classroom today. But over time, she discovered that children continuously chose these same items over and over again, and then other ones they just totally overlooked. So eventually what she did, she removed the ones that they didn't seem to like. And this was not just in one classroom in Italy where she started, but these were the ones that children chose from many different cultures, from classrooms all over the world. They chose these materials over and over again. So Montessori thought, well, there's something to that, obviously. So the activities that you'll see in a true Montessori classroom today are ones that children actually enjoy. I know. Back to the question, what about childhood? When do they get to just play and be kids? There's a sort of perception of Montessori of being very strict and rigid. And I think this is, another misunderstanding or a misrepresentation. I've seen schools. Not everyone's going to do it perfect. We all try. It's not always going to be carried out accurately. There's this perception of Montessori being very strict. The truth is, in the classroom, children are allowed to choose what they like to do. It's one of the core things that we do. Now, some teachers do seem uncomfortable with this. They like the idea in theory of a child being able to choose their work, but when it really comes down to it, it's uncomfortable to just let the child walk around. I've seen this in a classroom where they're like, choose your work, choose your work. But my professor, who instructed us in our Montessori teacher training, tells us it's okay. Sometimes you'll have kids all have different characters, and some kids, maybe they're perfectionists. For whatever reason, they don't want to try anything they might fail at. So she says there's some kids that come in and for a whole year, all they do is observe. You can give them so many presentations and try to get them engrossed, but it will take a whole year for them to feel confident actually taking out work and trying it. So for the whole year, they may just observe. They may not actually choose anything, and that I was trained that's all right, that you give the child freedom to choose as they will, and they still have outdoor playtime. Another question I hear a lot is people say, Montessori schools focus too much on individual work. I want my child to learn social skills. If they're young, they need to learn this. One school on their website, they're doing sort of an updated Montessori program. And they said, and I quote, "Our students are encouraged to socialize and cooperate in the classrooms, unlike the antiquated seen and not heard approach of many Montessori programs," which makes me so sad. And I think this is a misunderstanding of Montessori's philosophies. If you actually read her books, you can tell she just thought the kids were great. She loved them. So I hate this when it comes across so strict. The truth is, in an appropriate Montessori classroom, the children are allowed to talk, to socialize, to discuss. It's encouraged, really, but the concentration of the child at work is protected. So a child tries to walk up to a kid who's, getting absorbed in something, the teacher will, redirect them. The Montessori classroom is very freeing, and I love that about it, that they're encouraged to discuss, and I've seen it, and it's beautiful, and they have these little conversations, and you just feel like they're teenagers or something, little miniature adults, not 5-year-olds. But I have seen an unfortunate example at one Montessori school. A music teacher come in to teach the children, and she clearly was not trained. She came to pass out some rhythm sticks, and she was passing around. She told the children to each take some, and then some of them grabbed the larger sticks and some grabbed the smaller, and then she was like, only the small ones, don't take the large ones. So then as they're still waiting for everybody to take theirs and nothing is happening, one of the kids says, I wonder why we're only doing the large ones. And another kid says, well, maybe it's thus and such, and the other one's like, maybe it's such and such. And she totally sort of was cut them off. No, you need to be quiet. You need to do this. And I thought, oh, she totally missed it. And, it's a beautiful moment where the children are asking, I wonder why. And they were so ready and open for it. And I just felt so sad that, she missed it. But that's just another example of someone, it's a Montessori school. A lot of people in there are trained, but unfortunately this woman was not able to see what a beautiful moment that would have been to help to respond to the children and their curiosity and their interest, and instead she sort of squelched it. To address the concern of individual work and being antisocial, many teachers in your traditional education today are assigning group assignments. This is in older classes, especially in college. This is supposedly for the purpose of learning, group teamwork and collaboration. But if you haven't been to college lately, let me tell you what really happens. Okay, it's usually a group of 4 or 5. Everybody starts out all, agreeable. One person takes charge. Another person is usually pretty good at following through, but then the other 2 or 3 people do nothing. They do nothing, okay? And the 1 or 2 people pick up all the slack and do all the work. And you know who those people are? They're the people who know how to work individually. Before you can do teamwork, you have to do individual work. You have to be willing to follow through on what needs to be done before you can do teamwork. So makes sense to me. Love to get your feedback. Let me know what you think about all this. Ask me more questions, and I will be so happy to answer them. Okay, talk to you later, and have a great summer.